Hey guys, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be showing you with a ton of conclusive data, charts, analysis, fundamental adoption, all kinds of stuff that Cardano is about to rally to $2 in the short term and $10 by the end of the decade. If you'll remember, during the last bull market, I was a major proponent of this $10 Cardano by the end of the decade stuff. And then Cardano went down to 30 cents and people say, Jebb, what the heck happened? What about Cardano going to $10 by the end of the decade? Well, today I'm going to share with you our path forward because I genuinely believe that we're about to see a massive rally on Cardano. But the first thing that we have to do is we have to prove that altcoin season is starting, because it is. You're going to love what we're going to do today. So let's get started. Right now, Bitcoin's market dominance is dropping. This is the first of many charts that we're going to be going over today. I'll just kind of show you our lineup today. We've got a bunch of really great stuff to talk about, so stay tuned. But Bitcoin has been shedding dominance extremely quickly, which is not a surprise to anyone who's been tracking the Bitcoin market dominance chart, because we have been looking at this Fibonacci retracement off camera. I probably should have shown this more on camera, but off camera, I've been looking at this level at 0.5, the 65.87% right here on, as you can see, the regular chart. This is a big level of resistance for Bitcoin market dominance, and we've seen a major rejection over just the last couple of weeks as altcoin season seems to be kicking into full swing. Now, I thought we were talking about Cardano. Why are we talking about altcoin season? Because Cardano is one of the biggest altcoins that is going to melt faces in this altcoin season, and so we got to make sure that altcoin season is starting before we start making big calls on Cardano. Because if alt season is starting, you're not going to want to miss out on what Cardano is going to do during this alt season. What we're seeing right now is a major drop on Bitcoin market dominance that is going to lead to a major rally on Cardano. Just take a quick peek at this chart and see how beautiful that is. That's where we're going. But what we're seeing right now is Bitcoin's market dominance is rejecting in a very similar way that Bitcoin did two different times during the last Bitcoin bull market. You can see I have Bitcoin's price action overlaid on top of the Bitcoin market dominance here today so that we can compare Bitcoin's rejection at critical levels on the market dominance chart to what the price was doing. As you can see, Bitcoin had two very large rejections here at, you guessed it, the golden pocket on the Fibonacci retracement, 0.618 to 0.65. This was a technically confirmed rejection of Bitcoin market dominance that led to two alt seasons. The first that was relatively small, and the second one that was enormous that coincided with the end of the rally. The argument that we've got to make today is whether or not Bitcoin is going through the first or the second. The first time that Bitcoin saw a market dominance rejection here during the last bull market, we saw Bitcoin was only trading at approximately $10,000 to $11,000, well below the previous all-time high. That doesn't really fit where we are right now. The next time that Bitcoin rejected on market dominance right here, we were about half of the way through the parabolic uptrend that would lead Bitcoin to $69,000, and the alt season starting was not the signal of the end of the bull market, but it did signal, as we can see if we zoom in here, that the bull market probably had a good year left in it. The all-time high of $69,000 would happen 300 days later and coincide with Bitcoin's market dominance dropping to the floor as people flooded into altcoins after making a ton of money in Bitcoin. Needless to say, the Bitcoin rejection that we're seeing off the 0.5 level is similar to this rejection that we saw off the 0.618 level during the last bull market, and signals two things. Number one, it signals that this bull market is maturing, but number two, it also signals that there's still a great deal of time left in this bull market, potentially over 300 more days, which would take us to April of next year. If you'll recall, we've been talking a lot about lengthening cycles or even super cycles, where Bitcoin could slow down, have longer cycles, and bear markets could take longer than every 4 years, or they might just disappear entirely. That's seeming to fit this paradigm, because we should have seen the altcoin season starting 6 months ago if the bear market was going to start here in November. So anyway, the point is that we have an altcoin season starting. This massive correction on Bitcoin market dominance coincides with that. And also we have our altcoin season index over here on CoinMarketCap, which is making the case that the altcoin season is starting. There is a significant amount of interest in altcoins right now. And this is also something that if you look on the Google search trends, you're going to see that altcoin search has been massively exploding. That's not something I have in my lineup here, but let me show you really quickly here. It's pretty straightforward. Over the last 5 years, we've seen altcoin just completely ignored. Nobody's had any interest in the keyword altcoin. And then all of a sudden, boom, just out of nowhere, the keyword altcoin on Google just explodes. That's because altcoins are about to go nuts. All right, so we've established that altcoin season is here. We've got facts, data, charts, market sentiment, retail interest, all proving that altcoin season is starting. So, if altcoin season is going to start, track with me here because that's our first point. Second point, who's going to benefit? Well, according to the United States government, Congress, if you recall, last week was crypto week. According to the United States government, There are only 3 blockchains that are considered likely mature. One of them is Bitcoin, one of them is Ethereum, and one of them is Cardano. Now, here's the thing you got to understand. Bitcoin is a juggernaut. It's $2.3 trillion in market capitalization. Ethereum's almost $500 billion in market capitalization. They don't move that fast. Doubling your money in Bitcoin or ETH is hard. Now, don't get me wrong. I have 90% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin to death, but it's a lot harder to double your money in Bitcoin. You can double your money in Cardano down here. The faster horse is only $30 billion market cap. It could 10x, and it still would be only 60% of the value of Ethereum and almost 1/10 of the value of Bitcoin. It's got almost 100th as much market capitalization as Bitcoin and an enormous amount of utility. It's massively undervalued. So we've established one, the alt season is starting. Number 2, we've established that the United States government believes that Cardano is one of the only likely mature blockchains in the entire world. They didn't list Solana, they didn't list XRP, but they did list Cardano. Why? Public proof of stake with diverse validators, no single holder or group over 20% of the supply, community governments progressing towards full decentralization, open source code, and operational for staking and operations for staking and transactions. What? This is the United States Congress talking. How incredible is that? Okay, so let's look at the charts. Are we about to see a massive breakout on Cardano? Well, it does seem glaringly obvious. Remember, I've been calling for a $10 Cardano before the end of the decade, since back here, like 4 years ago, I've been calling for this. And people have been making fun of me for it for a long time. I don't care. $10 Cardano, end of the decade, that's been our call. I'm sticking with it. Right now, we have a beautiful chart forming. You know, in technical analysis, we teach something called a rounded bottom. And that is exactly what the ADA over Bitcoin chart has been doing. You just take a couple of rounded curves right here, and you can basically define the entire bottom on Cardano. You just have it come down here like a half pipe and then turn around and start moving back to the upside. We had exponentially slowing down bottoms that were asymptotically approaching 20 cents. Then slowly but surely over the last few years, you've seen those bottoms start to creep up, and you have an exponential curve of support, and depending on whether you're drawing on the log chart, you have this uptrending level of resistance to govern the top of the chart, or if you draw it on the logarithmic chart, you have this uptrending level of resistance to govern the chart. You can see these 3 highs, 1, 2, 3. On the log chart, you can see that we rejected cleanly here at the 0.618 Fibonacci level. After rejecting cleanly here at the 0.5 level, it's obvious that Cardano is marching back towards all-time high, and it's respecting either this uptrend on the log chart or this uptrend on the regular chart. What I think that we also need to pay attention to, though, is this downtrend right here. This downtrend right there. What happened the last time Cardano broke out of a downtrend between the all-time high and a local high? Well, it was this downtrend right here. And guess what happened? Cardano rallied from 32 cents immediately to $1.30. It was a 300% movement. The last time that Cardano broke a downtrend like this one that is beneath right now, with one touch at all-time high, one touch right here, one touch right here. The last time we did that, we had this massive moonshot 300% movement, and it's happening again. As we speak, Cardano is testing the 0.236 Fibonacci level at 90 cents on the regular chart, and it is also testing this downtrending level of resistance. Well, with this exceptionally good news that we are being validated by the United States federal government, it becomes obvious that Cardano is undervalued. You're telling me we're in alt season now, whereas before we weren't, and we're still 32% retraced from our local high, and Cardano is still 71% retraced from its all-time high. That makes no sense. So where is Cardano going? Well, if you look on the log chart, Cardano rallied in this last rally all the way up to the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement. This is called our golden pocket. For any of you students of technical analysis that have been studying TA with me for the last almost decade here on the channel, you'll know the golden pocket's very important, because when the market corrects, when it drops and it bounces, it typically rallies to the 0.618 and then it stops for a while. It doesn't mean it's going to stop for good, but it's going to stop for a while. That's where that's where Cardano stopped for gas, was here at the 0.618 level on the logarithmic chart. Well, it stands to reason then that we would do the same on the regular chart. And it also makes sense that we would go to the 0.618 Fibonacci level, which sits right here, as you can see right here, because if you go back to the log chart, that also perfectly coincides with another touch on this uptrending level of resistance at $2.50, which just so happens to be a big, even psychological level on the log chart. It is so obvious that the chart is set up for a massive breakout. It's just beyond belief. If you can't see how obvious it is that a major breakout is about to come because of all these factors, let me also show you this. On the weekly chart, we have, for the first time since that last major breakout, a buy signal coming from, not from Lux Algo, from the MACD. We have MACD crossing bullish below the histogram. The last time we saw this happen was right here. Let's put a vertical line right here. Was right here. And very soon thereafter, we saw this big, massive rally on Cardano. Again, not even during an alt season, which we just verified is happening right before our eyes. We just saw this cross a couple of weeks ago, and it's likely that it's not going to slow down anytime soon. Furthermore, we also just saw Cardano break with confidence above the 14 interval moving average on the weekly chart RSI, something that we have rejected off of previously or failed to break through with confidence recently. And the last time that we had a major breakout here was back here before, once again, that 300% movement. We have an exact duplicate of this rally forming, and instead of seeing a dollar movement and 300% movement, what we're probably going to see is a movement right here of another 300%, except it's going to be $1.50 movement back up to $2. So our short-term prediction is the second block of the video. First block of the video, I want to prove to you that altcoin season is starting. Second block of the video, I want to prove to you there's a massive amount of interest in Cardano right now, and my price target for the end of this period, whatever that may be, the next couple of months, is $2. I think Cardano is going to go from 90 cents to $2, and this is the chart that I'm going to be banking on. This chart right here, as soon as we are done shooting this video, I'm going to take a screenshot of this, I'm going to post it on Twitter, and I'm going to make that my call. By the end of the year, I think Cardano is going to go to $2. But we're not done. We got a third section that we need to dive into, and that would have to do with this chart. As you can see, during the last Bitcoin bull market, we went to the 3.618 Fibonacci extension off of the bear market. If you drew a Fibonacci extension from the 20K bull market all-time high down to the bear market bottom at 3,000, the Fibonacci extension went to 3.618. That's where Bitcoin topped out at, 3.618. If you were to draw the exact same chart on Cardano, it's interesting where it brings you. It's been hiding in the background of this chart that we've been looking at the whole time. If you draw that exact same Fibonacci extension off of this entire market, the same way we did with Bitcoin, with the top here, bottom down here, the 3.618 gives us a price target of $10.83. It doesn't get much clearer than that. 3.618 above the $3.13 all-time high that we saw in 2021 would be $10.83. Does that pass the sniff test? Does it pass the sniff test, Cardano going to $10 by the end of the decade? Does that make sense? Well, I'm going to come at this from a few different angles. Number one, that would require an 11x on Cardano's market capitalization, which would approximately equate $350 billion in market cap. There's 350 billion ADA in circulation. So if you want a $10 ADA, then you have about $350 billion of market cap. Just add a zero to the circulating supply. Does that pass the sniff test? Absolutely. What Cardano is doing with development is absolutely incredible. The United States federal government has acknowledged that. Major players the world over are acknowledging that. I acknowledge that, and I would highly encourage you to do so as well, because Cardano is getting a bunch of adoption. But let's quantify that. What does a bunch of adoption even mean? Well, the first thing I want to show you is DeFi Llama. If we go to DeFi Llama, give me 1 second. If we go to DeFi Llama and we pull up Cardano, let me pull this up, and you pull up Cardano, you can see that there is a great deal of development going on over here with the TVL. Now, it's still low, and people make a big deal about how low it is, but there's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of development going on with Liquid, MinSwap, Indigo, Splash Protocol. There's also a great deal of development going on with the stablecoins. Even just over the last month, we've had a big increase in the amount of value on stablecoins. On top of that, you have Donald Trump being pro-Cardano. You have the United States Congress being pro-Cardano. You have Charles Hoskinson becoming a major player on Capitol Hill, getting all kinds of worked in with politics. And you also have, most importantly, the massive litany of integrations that Cardano has with Bitcoin. There's a lot of decentralized applications and decentralized protocols that are coming to Bitcoin because of Cardano functionality. So Cardano is positioning itself to have an incredible value moving into the rest of this decade, which is why I think that Cardano is going to go to $10 by the end of this decade. But one more thing I want to talk about. Does that pass the sniff test? Here's another way that we can have a kind of a sniff test about a $10 Cardano. This is the ADA over Bitcoin chart. Now, there's two things I want to point out about this chart. Number one, this chart is why I do not invest in altcoins for the long term. I trade altcoins. Now, I might trade the altcoin for 5 years, but I'm not holding any altcoin for 25, 30 years. I might hold it for 4 years. I might hold it for 1 year. I might hold it for 2 years. But this chart is the reason that I invest 90% of our net worth in Bitcoin, because everything goes to zero against Bitcoin if you give it long enough. But There are times where different markets are going to outperform Bitcoin, and we've seen that happen with Cardano before. And if you could have caught this leg, you could have bought down here, sold up here, and then bought back more Bitcoin than you sold to enter into the position. And so if you can catch one of those movements, it is a good idea to do so. And we're witnessing one of them form right now. As we speak, Cardano is majorly outperforming Bitcoin, and if it goes to $2 in the next few months, that would be more than a 100% rally from where it is right now. That would equate to Bitcoin going to $220,000 in just the next few months. Now, if Bitcoin did go to $220,000, don't you think ADA would go to something more than $2? Don't you think that at that point in time, Cardano would probably go back to all-time high or even further? So let's just assume for a second that that Bitcoin doesn't even move. It just trades sideways for the rest of this year. Cardano right now is breaking through a very important couple of downtrends here on its ADA over Bitcoin chart. First and foremost, this shorter term downtrend right here has been broken. This downtrend has caused ADA to go into a major rally, and now ADA is coming up here to test a longer term downtrend, which is this one right here. If we break through this downtrend, then there's basically no more resistance until ADA over Bitcoin value gets up to like 1250 all the way up here to about 1800. 1800 comes from our Fibonacci retracement all the way off of this drop right here. Only 0.236 return back to where we were would bring ADA up to 180, which would be roughly a 3x from where we are right now, which would be roughly $2.50 per Cardano. So I hope all of this has made it clear to you what my stance is. My stance is 3 parts. Number 1, alt season is here. It's starting, and a litany of altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin over the next several months. This is the alt season we've all been waiting for. This is the reason that we have about 5 to 10% of our portfolio in altcoins. I'm looking forward to them running, selling them at the top, sticking them in cash, buying the Bitcoin bear market with them if the bear market ever should come. Number 2, Cardano, based on all of our analysis, based on our fundamental analysis, based on all of our understanding, is likely to move to here before the end of the year, $2. That would be a major 125% movement on ADA if you opened a 5x leverage long on that, or a 10x leverage long on that. Even if you just long from here all the way up to here, let's just say you went in a 10x leverage long on this movement, that would be a 320% return on a 10x leverage long on a movement that could take place over the course of like less than a month. Incredible returns. So stay tuned and watch out for these big trade opportunities that are coming. Our second point is, as I said, that Cardano is most likely to return back to the $2 level and hit all these levels in between for great stop losses. A $2 Cardano is likely to happen before the end of the year. Our third point is that similarly to how Bitcoin rallied to the 3.618 Fibonacci extension level after its massive bull market here, let's go ahead and pull that up right over here. At the end of the 2021 bull market, we rallied to the 3.618. I think you're going to see Cardano do the exact same thing by the end of the decade, either in this bull market, and it'll happen sometime later this year or sometime later next year if things just go absolutely insane, or based on the halving cycles, we should be in the middle of a bear market in 2029 and in the middle of a bull market in 2029 and 2030, and $10 will be hit by the end of the decade. So holding Cardano for the rest of this decade, in my opinion, is going to be a very good performing asset. Even just for the rest of this bull market, is most likely to perform very well. Bitcoin is probably going to get left behind for a few weeks as the altcoin engine starts kicking into gear. Bitcoin rallied up to 123. People took profits. They're buying altcoins. Now altcoins are going to rally a bunch. People are going to take profits, dump it back into their long-term Bitcoin position. Then Bitcoin's going to rocket up to 135. Then they're going to take profits. The traders anyway, they're going to dump the money back into the altcoins. Altcoins are going to explode. And then you're going to send Bitcoin to 200K on the money that the people made off those altcoins in that second cycle of the altcoin cycle. The altcoin engine's getting started. That means that this bull market is reaching maturity. We probably got about a good year left. So let's make the absolute most out of it. The last thing I want to tell you, now that we've gone over our 3 points: number 1, alt season starting. Number 2, we're about to see a $2 Cardano. Number 3, $10 Cardano by the end of the decade is still coming. The last point I want to make is that I am planning on trading this movement. If we see a breakout here from Cardano, I'm going to be going into probably like an 8 to a 10x long and just hold it for like a month or two. And where I'm going to be doing that is none other than on 2bit. If you guys have not already signed up for 2bit, I highly encourage you to do so. And before you click off, I'm going to give you some free money. Okay, it's just that simple. Before you click off, check this out. If you sign up for 2bit right now, you're going to get $50 for free. Just by signing up, you're going to get $50 in your account just by registering. That's incredible. But if you trade over $1,000 of perps, you will double that, and that'll become $100. So you just got $100 by depositing $50, using the $50 to trade $1,000, and you now have $100. Now, if you deposit $100, then you're also going to get $30. That's incredible. You deposit $100, you get $30 because you deposited 100, and then you're also going to get 50. So now your 100 just turned into 180, 50 plus 30, but then the 50 doubles if you trade perps. So you just turned a $100 deposit and a little bit of trading into 230 bucks. That's 130% return. That's the same return we're talking about on Cardano, and you just did it in 5 minutes by signing up for 2Bit with the link down below, but it gets better. If you sign up for 2Bit with the link in the description box down below and deposit $100, you will be eligible to get access to our trading group, the first cohort trading group, for a year for free. All you have to do is send an email to my employee, Malachi, with the link in the description box down below with a screenshot of your UID and proof of deposit, and we're going to give you a coupon code to get into the first cohort, our trading group that people are joining just hand over foot. You can see all these people that are joining over here. Ton of people joining, ton of trading going on, a lot of analysis going on that we're talking about. I'm posting all my trades, all my investments, everything over here. So if you want to sign up and do this technical analysis right alongside me, then go make 130 bucks for free on 2Bit and get a year free in the first cohort just by signing up for 2Bit and depositing $100. And that is a $420 value. The first cohort is $419 a year or $49 a month. You're going to get in for free for a year and get some serious alpha in our group just by signing up for 2Bit with the link in the description box down below. 2Bit is the best exchange on the market. It's where I'm going to be doing this trade on Cardano, and if you want to join that trade with me, know exactly when to get into it, know exactly when to get out of it, then make sure to sign up with the link down below. I plan on going into this trade if the stars are right, if everything lines up exactly how we think it will, then that's a trade that I plan on doing. So stay tuned, join the Discord server. If I go into that trade, then you will see me do that right over there. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more content, hodl on, stay strong, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the top. Peace.